Everyone. In this video, I want to talk about authentication and the share wall permissions model. Um, but before I get into it, I do want to mention that every Tuesday I host a Cortex users group. I did a video specifically on this a couple of weeks ago, um, but the last few videos I've forgotten to mention it. So what it is basically a virtual call. I think it's Zoom right now, where anyone who is, if you're currently using Cortex, if you're thinking about using Cortex, if you're just curious about what it is, have additional questions, you're more than welcome to come ask questions, ask other people questions. Um, I'm hosting it, but I don't need to be talking the whole time. I'm just providing the venue, and it's really for you all to to uh, to get the information that you need to know what you need to do to use Cortex. So with that in mind, let's talk about what's new in Cortex over the last week. And this is actually kind of a part one of a feature. You will be able to see it in the demo site, and I'll actually be demoing it from the demo site. Um, but it's not done. This is kind of part one of three that will go into Cortex 1.3. Cortex 1.2 is available, is out there, but doesn't support authentication or anything with the share wall permissions model. So let's switch to the demo. So if you go to the demo site right now, you'll notice that you get redirected to a login prompt, which is new and different. Nothing on Cortex has ever required a login prompt before. So it did create a bit of a challenge for me to figure out how I wanted to do this for the demo site. Um, there are three user accounts that are set up. The password for all of them is password. Right now, this is still just a read-only tool. So uh, there's no harm in just having the password be password. Those three user accounts are CSD admin, Claire, and Emma. Claire is CLAIR, Emma EMMA. Um, the reason I have three is because they show three different views into the data. Sorry, I shouldn't use the word views. That means something in Cherwell. I do not use Cherwell views, at least not right now. Um, but basically, those three user accounts are connected to three different security groups. Um, and I could certainly go into the gory details of why I picked those accounts and how they work. Um, but uh, for purposes of the demo, just know that they are connected to three different security groups. Um, so I'm going to log in as Claire. And again, the password is password. And I'm going to sign in, and it will redirect me back to Cortex. And in just a second, I'll see the familiar search screen. But there will be slight differences. This is interesting. This, ironically, it worked on my phone. There we go. May have just been a cache issue or something like that. Um, that's actually a good note. If you do see a screen like that, definitely let me know. I use this fairly frequently, and obviously I've run into some things while developing this, but I haven't tested every single nook and cranny. If you click on something in Cortex and you get a screen like that, or in some cases there's a yellow banner across the bottom that says an exception occurred, things may not work until you reload, something along those lines, let me know. Let me know what you were doing, and let me know uh, the behavior that worked or didn't work. Because I do want to make sure that this works on ideally 100% of of share wall content, but certainly as much as possible, and certainly your content, um, so that you don't have to worry about what happens when after Sharewell's end of life date. So uh, we're now logged in as Claire. You can see that here, and you'll notice that this list here is a lot shorter. Uh, Before login was required, this dropdown listed, I'm pretty sure it was every business object in the system. Might have been every major business object. Um, but now it shows only the business objects that Claire has access to. And we can see this even more if we go to the browse uh, section, where instead of a list of, I don't know, 20, 30 business objects, we now only see a list of, what is that, 10, 11, something like that. This list of business objects is limited by the business objects that Claire's security group has access to, which is significantly fewer than the total amount. This applies to supporting objects and lookup tables as well. And you can see there really isn't much that Claire has access to. Um, and this is, again, I've mentioned before in previous videos, everything that I'm showing is based on the demo content, um, but nothing here is hard coded. This is just a security group that was in the system that I tied to this user account. So whatever security groups you have in your system, tied to whatever user accounts you have in your system, uh, that's what Cortex will use. Now, the one question that I am sure is going to come up is, let me switch back to my face for a second. The question I know is going to come up is how does this work? How can I configure authentication? Um, because in past videos, I've specifically said I'm not worrying about authentication. I'm not worrying about permissioning. I'll do that on a case by case basis. And obviously now I'm starting to support the Sharewell permissions model. Um, so how far does that go? Where, you know, where where did I draw the line? Basically, I support anything that can do OIDC, OpenID Connect, which is basically anything these days. If you're using Active Directory, you can do OpenID Connect with ADFS. If you're doing, if you're using Azure AD, or sorry, Entra ID, whatever Microsoft is calling it now, you support OpenID Connect. In fact, anything that's tied in with that is probably already using OpenID Connect. If you're using Okta, they do OpenID Connect. I'm using an open source identity provider called Keycloak, which is basically like an open source version of Okta, which does OpenID Connect. So pretty much any method of authentication that you're currently using will support OpenID Connect. There might be some hoops to jump through and some questions to answer, which I'm more than happy to help you navigate. But whatever you're using, it probably already supports OpenID Connect. We just need to make sure that we're checking the right boxes. Um, there are a few configuration settings that will be documented on the documentation site, docs.thoughtcolony.com, also linked down below. They're not there yet because this version is not yet released. But when Cortex 1.3 is released, that'll be on the documentation site. As far as linking that to the user accounts, now we're getting into some technical details. But it's basically anything that's in the trebuchet auth table. There's a record for that user account, they can get in. If you don't want them to get in, remove the record from the trebuchet auth table. That's the simple way to go about it. And if that's going to be a problem, talk to me. Let me know. We'll figure out a way around it. This is, as I started talking to more people about their permissioning needs, I realized that it was actually going to be simpler just to start implementing the Sharewell permissioning model. So that also leaves the question of what else am I going to support? Right now, obviously, it's what business objects does this security group have access to? And specifically, it's view access. So if you can view the business object, if that security group can view the business object, you can view the business object in Cortex. Um, Other things that I am planning to support but don't currently are the filtering business object records by particular expressions by security group. So security group A can only see records if they have fields set to a particular value. Security group B can see everything. Security group C can see those records only if they have the field set to something else. I don't support that yet, but I will. That's next on the list. And then finally, field level permissioning. I don't support that right now. Right now, if you can see the business object, you can see the whole business object. Um, Obviously, that's not going to work for everybody. Some of you have your system set up so that specific security groups can only see specific fields. Um, and even in the situations where this is being used for archive and audit, and most likely whoever's getting information for the audit can see all of the fields anyway. That might not always be the case. So I do want to support that, but that'll happen. That's two or three items down the list um, from where I am right now. So as always, if you have thoughts, questions, comments, uh, leave a note down below or uh, schedule some time with me, send me an email. All that good information is down in the description down below. Remember, the user group is every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. I think I mentioned the time. But user group, 10 a.m. Pacific, uh, every Tuesday. Link to sign up for that is also down below. Um, and if you want to see Cortex running on your data, let's make it happen. Contact information down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.